Good evening, Madam Moderator, town meeting members. Thank you for your time, your service, and your continued commitment to this community. My name is Julie Hackett, and I am proud to serve as Superintendent of Lexington Public Schools. Tonight, I'm pleased to present the proposed FY 2027 LPS budget on behalf of the school committee. What I want you to leave with tonight is not just a budget number, but the full context behind it. Why costs are what they are, what we've already done to hold them down, and what it will take to sustain the excellent schools this community has built over generations. We have a lot of ground to cover tonight, 10 topics that tell the full story of this budget. We'll close with student success indicators because ultimately that's what every dollar in this budget is for, kids. Let's get started. The FY 27 proposed budget is $151.7 million. That's a 3.9% increase over last year's adjusted budget of approximately $146 million. Salaries and wages are up 3.4%, driven by contractual step increases and costs of living adjustments for 1,200 plus employees. Expenses are up 7.2%, including a 10% rise in special education transportation and 11.5% in special education tuition. Tuitions and transportation alone account for $14 million of our $20.2 million expense budget, leaving little for any other expenses. Our costs are growing faster than our available revenue, and while a 3.9% increase may seem modest on its face, it does not tell the full story of the pressures underneath it, or what we had to cut to get there. I'll share more about this as we go along. This budget is the result of a full year of work. The process began in September with data-driven departmental assessments, moved through public hearings, union outreach, and town budget summits, culminating in the school committee's February vote. Every number in front of you tonight has been reviewed, challenged, and revised by multiple stakeholders multiple times. The budget is built on 4 strategic goals, and every dollar maps to one of them: addressing and narrowing gaps, redefining student success, cultivating student agency, and innovating for sustainable change. I want to spend a moment on Goal 2, redefining student success. We are evolving our graduation requirements across 3 phases, each one building toward the teaching and learning opportunities our new high school will make possible. This is meaningful, forward-looking work. These goals are not aspirations. They are the framework behind every decision in this budget, and we have advanced all 4 without additional revenue and without additional positions. Cost pressures don't exist in a vacuum. Before I walk you through what's driving them, I want to make sure that you understand the revenue constraints we're working within. First of all, we have Proposition 2.5, which caps annual property tax levy growth at 2.5% plus new growth. That is our ceiling, no matter what costs do. Chapter 70 provides approximately $19 million annually. The proposed FY 27 minimum per pupil increase is just $75, half of this year's $150, which was a historic high driven by the Student Opportunity Act's final funding year. Net school spending. To put that in context, it's the minimum amount of combined state aid and local property tax contributions required to fund public education. The state average is 153%, and the highest in Massachusetts is 458%. Lexington invests at 195%, nearly double the required minimum, reflecting this community's deep and long-standing commitment to its schools. And then finally, the special education circuit breaker reimburses up to 75% of extraordinary costs, but out-of-district tuition surged 14% in FY24 and another 4.7% in FY25, outpacing what reimbursement could cover. Over the past decade, Lexington's budget increases have been among the smallest of comparable Massachusetts districts, a consistent record of fiscal discipline. But 4 cost drivers are putting particular pressure on FY27. First, we have salaries and wages. Their contracts are settling at significantly higher percentages than we've seen in recent years. Health insurance is up 9% across all staff benefit plans. We do not control this number. Transportation is up 10%, driven by fuel costs, driver wages, and federally mandated McKinney-Vento routes, which alone have increased significantly since 2020. Special education, particularly out-of-district placements and rising IEP severity, continues to outpace reimbursement despite the circuit breaker. None of these are discretionary. None are the result of overspending. They are all legal mandates and contractual obligations. Overall, K through 12 enrollment is down 1% over 5 years, concentrated at the elementary level. But declining enrollment does not mean declining costs. For us right now, the opposite is true. Special education enrollment has grown slightly, matching a statewide trend. More critically, the severity of need among students with IEPs has increased significantly with major budget implications. Our McKinney-Vento population reached an all-time high of 170 students, which is up 900% since 2020. Looking ahead, enrollment declines are projected to be offset by approximately 500 additional students from MBTA zoning changes. We're planning for that growth now. We are seeing a shift in student need. 15% of Lexington students currently have an IEP. Our high needs IEP rate is 3.9% and rising, as is the complexity within each plan. Out-of-district tuition placements surged more than 18% in the past few years. These placements are not optional. They are legally required under federal law when we cannot meet a student's needs in district. The FY27 budget draws up to $3.8 million in in-year circuit breaker funds just to balance, money that should be held in reserve. Using it in year is a sign of structural stress, and it's not a sustainable practice. We are seeing a more complex student population, and this chart tells the story clearly. Total IEP students grew from 870 in FY18 to 1,000 in FY25, a 15% increase, even as overall enrollment declined. But look at the high needs students in the gold bars. That population grew from 150 in FY18 to 265 in FY25. That's a 77% increase, growing 8 times faster than standard IEP enrollment. High needs placements cost significantly more than standard district services. That growth has added millions in annual costs, compressing the budget even as total enrollment falls. We did not wait to be asked. Lexington commissioned 2 independent third-party reviews this year, and we are sharing the findings publicly. The Special Education District Review found our staff deeply committed, but identified meaningful gaps despite being well-staffed. We are already acting on the key recommendations for stronger direct instruction, reimagined coaching, more focused severe needs programs, and greater emphasis on student independence. The CLA financial forecast is clear. Costs are outpacing revenues. This is another third-party review we undertook. Unreimbursement circuit breaker costs grew from $7.3 million to $9.4 million since FY19. Appropriations are projected to rise from $152.8 million in FY27 to $169.9 million by FY31. Future decisions will need to balance instructional quality against cost growth in transportation and out-of-district tuition. Both reports are publicly available on the resource page of this presentation, and I encourage every town meeting member to read them. We are grateful for taxpayer support of the new high school, and we are doing everything we can to avoid an operational override. But the budget number you see came at a real cost, and I want you to understand what it took for us to get there. In the first column, each dot you see on this slide represents a real position: a teacher, an administrator, a support staff member. By the end of this school year, LPS will be nearly 6% smaller than last year, at least 72 fewer full-time equivalent positions. And our safety nets are eroding. The FY27 budget uses up to $3.8 million of circuit breaker funds that should be held in reserve. We have also reduced the cushion for students on the edge of costly out-of-district placements, increasing our financial exposure. And 4 budget lines are deliberately set below actual costs, including substitutes, legal services, special education tuitions, and professional development. Gaps will be filled mid-year through additional cuts and draws from other programs. This is not a level service budget. It is a budget of sacrifice. Let me address the most common questions we hear directly. Regarding budget growth, the budget is not growing because we are overspending or expanding programs. The biggest drivers, health insurance at plus 9%, transportation plus 10%, special education tuitions that were over 18.7% in just 2 years, and contractual step increases are set by contracts, mandates, and market forces. None are discretionary. As you just heard, this is not a level service budget. We have cut 72 FTE positions, drawn down safety nets, and deliberately underfunded multiple lines. It reflects constraint and sacrifice, not the status quo. Prop 2.5 override. We cut positions precisely to avoid an override. If one is ever needed, it would not be irresponsible. 235 overrides have passed across Massachusetts in the last decade. 45 overrides were sought last year alone. Overrides reflect community investment, not failure. Before I close, I want to bring it back to what matters most, and that's our students. And what this community has built for its children is remarkable. Lexington is tied for first in the nation on state proficiency scores. Our students achieve 94% math proficiency. That's more than double the state average. 88% ELA proficiency versus 44% statewide. In grades 3 through 8, our students nearly double the state average in math and science and outperform it by 36 points in ELA. At the high school, 95% of our students scored 3 or higher on AP exams, and we have some of the highest participation rates in Massachusetts. We are ranked 3rd in Massachusetts for high schools and 118th in the nation. That is out of 18,000 high schools. And 72% of Lexington high school students are engaged in college-level work, a rate that rivals the most elite schools in the country. And the numbers I'm most proud of, our low-income students achieve 62.7% proficiency. That's 23 points above the state average. Our graduation rate is 99%. We are recognized as best in Massachusetts for pandemic recovery, and we rank in the top 10% nationally on equity. These are not just statistics. These are Lexington's children, and they are thriving. And the recognition goes further. 4 of our schools, Bridge, Clark, Harrington, and Hastings, have earned the National Blue Ribbon, the highest honor an American school can receive, awarded to fewer than 1% of schools nationwide by the U.S. Department of Education. Estabrook was nominated before the program was discontinued in 2025, one of only 6 Massachusetts schools to receive that nomination and distinction. The nomination alone speaks to the quality of work happening at Estabrook every day. And this is what your investment produces. These are Lexington's children, and every dollar in this budget is in service to them. All of the documents referenced tonight are publicly available and linked on this slide, and I encourage you to read them. We've covered a lot of ground tonight, but a budget is just a document. What it represents is something far more important, the promise this community makes to every child who walks through its doors. Thank you for your time, for your service, and for your commitment to Lexington's children. We appreciate you. I'm happy to take your questions.